Right, okie dokie. Let's render something so it looks like metal. So when we render something that looks like metal, we're going to have a shiny side and then two matte sides. So metal is obviously shiny, it's reflective. If it hits a beam of light, or if a beam of light goes on it, it will reflect that line, just like this rule is doing here, look. Okay, so we want to represent that nice beam of light. Now, depending from where your light source is coming from, I'm going to have my light source so it's coming from this corner, this edge here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify where my beam of light is going to go, and it's going to go there. Now, I have made it quite a large beam of light, but it's going to get a little bit smaller. And then these two are going to be the same. These two are both going to be medium. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, hold on a minute. Isn't one supposed to be light and one supposed to be medium? Yes, it can be a bit lighter than normal, but with metal, it's the odd one out. When it comes to direction of light, it tends to be two mediums rather than a light and a medium. It's all about how the metal absorbs its environment. So if it's surrounded by darker colors, it will be a bit darker. I'm also going to be showing you how to add in a little bit of color later on. But anyway, going back to this. What we want to do, first of all, is we're going to shade or render our face with our beam of light going right up to the white line. We're going right up to the white line. Now I'm just using a graphic pencil. I'm just using my ordinary pencil to do this. There we go. Perfect. Now, because these two are going to be completely different, we can focus on this one first, and then we can come back to these ones. Now, what I'm going to do is, because the light is being distributed, I'm going to shade from one corner up to my lovely beam of light. And when I shade, I'm going to go from really quite dark to all of a sudden quite light to quite dark again. I want the edges of this light beam to be really, really dark, because it's showing how the light is dispersing. So I'm going to start with the bottom corner, and I'm going quite dark, quite dark, quite dark. I'm easing up on the pencil, so I'm actually going quite light. I'm now going darker, 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 and beam of light. There we go. Now, this is actually a really nice pencil, because it's not often that easy. This is a very nice pencil. I'm going to do the same again over here. So I'm going to start from the beam of light this time. Dark. And then we're lifting up the pencil gradually. So we're going to more of a medium. And then we're going back dark. Oh, I did a bit of a rubbish job there, because you want it to blend a bit more. So I'm just going to go over it a little bit lighter. There we go. Just filling in any gaps. And I'm just going to use my pencil to sharpen up my edges, because I want nice sharp edges. This edge is actually quite good. Oh gosh. Okay. And that is how we're showing the reflection of our metal. Now you can continue with this. You can continue making the beam of light a little bit smaller if you so wish. That is absolutely fine. It's entirely up to you. You can continue like making the edges a bit darker, and then more medium, and then darker again. It is entirely up to you, but what you want is this nice gradiating tone. You want this tone. That's the main thing. Next thing is the other two sides. So like I said earlier, they've got to be a little bit medium. They've got to be a little bit medium rather than a light one and a medium one, because they absorb their surroundings. So I'm going to start with the top, and I'm going to do a nice gradient. I'm going to do two layers so I can cover as much white as I can. 2 layers. There we go. That's better. And then the bottom one here, this side, 2 layers. Turn the paper to make my life easier. Don't work in, work smarter, not necessarily harder. So if you need to move the paper, move the paper. There we go. I want a little bit more difference. I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to do another layer. Another layer going over. Yeah, that looks a bit better. I prefer that. In fact, I'm going to do another 2. I don't think that looks completely like a medium. That's better. And then medium at the top. Get those lines nice and crisp. Don't want sloppy lines. There we go. And then again, I'm just going to use my pencil to crisp up those edges. Here we go. There we go. Okie dokie, that's a nice. That is a little bit. That is a nice bit of metal. A little bit on the dark side. Probably went a bit too dark there, but never mind, never mind. But I talked about colour earlier. So metal absorbs its surroundings. When I say it absorbs its surroundings, it absorbs the colour of its surroundings. So it's not always just grey. It's a bit like when we rendered our timber, yeah, or the little bit of wood. It's not just brown. There's other colours. So what you can do to represent that, in the lighter tones, what you can do is you can actually go over them in a different colour, just to represent the fact that, oh, a bit of blue in the area. And you can do it the same with the medium. Just go over it ever so slightly. Just add a little blue hue, if you will. A little tinge of the colour. There you go. It just helps to make it look more realistic. And it doesn't have to be blue. Could maybe be brown, because maybe you've got something that's brown nearby. But it just does help to make it that little bit more realistic than just one shade of boring colour. All right, there we go. And that is how you would render something to make it look like metal. Really hope you found that useful. And as always, happy rendering.